Hey yo, welcome to this tier list video. So, basically I'm gonna let you know my thoughts and opinions and whatever on each commander for Direct Strike. Alright, let's go with the Abathur. What do I think Abathur is? Honestly? We'll say S tier in this meta. I think he has some very solid matchups versus a lot of the top contenders. A lot of the time he's just like a counter pick to a lot of the commanders that got buffed, like Raynor, like the Haka, even Alarak. Yeah, he's a solid pick. He doesn't even do that bad in Tavora. Yeah. The only two commanders you have to really worry about are Kerrigan and Phoenix, I would say. Oftentimes. But other than that, he's pretty solid. Maybe Statman you have to worry about too. Thanks. It's just like the grossness of every single like thing in his kit like combined together. Like whether it be his mend heals that he can use on himself but also allies. So if he uses his mend on allies, he can make the allies win their wave, and then he doesn't have to deal with his own wave because his allies just kill his wave for him. There's that. There's also Swarm Hosts. Swarm Hosts provide a lot of just annoyingness to the enemy, and it helps your allies stack. Swarm Hosts are kind of overrated right now. You probably only want Golden Swarm Hosts if you're getting them. So, but they're still good. And then his Vipers and Ravagers, his two like pretty key units. I know his Ravagers got nerfed, but they're still pretty good, especially if you biomass them. And Vipers are just Vipers. They're always gonna tend to be good. Yeah. And there's like a lot of commanders that fall prey to his air, like his Guardians and stuff like that. Which I'd say that's what kind of makes him like a viable pick even in the late game. Just his air transitions and whatnot. I mean that's all I could really say about him. He's just an overall solid pick. He supports his team. He also can carry. He has the dynamic duo of Cancer. Alarak. Man, this commander's... I'm probably gonna rate him like badly. As in like I don't think my opinion is gonna be good when I rate him. You know what, fuck it. We're gonna make this B tier, I'll say. I don't know, man. Like, unless you're fighting into like a Nova and you know what you're doing, or you're fighting into, you know, maybe a Han and Horner and you know what you're doing. I feel like oftentimes you just have to, you get carried by your team. He's decent into Vora, which I'd say that's what keeps him in B tier, in my eyes. Surprisingly, he is decent in Tavora. But man, this commander is. It feels like he doesn't win his own wave, and when he does, he has a good matchup, right? He's like a counter pick to like Manx and like I would say, but he's just not reliable, man. I get his Empower Me and then his Ascendance and whatnot, but it's just not reliable. Like you, when you build an Alarak team, you need to like base your team off of only Alarak hero and Ascendance. So you have to base your team off of benefiting the Alarak, you know, Ascendant late game scaling. I don't know. Like, is the payoff worth it? Not really, I would say. Oftentimes it's not. I will say though, like, and I know this doesn't really matter much, but if you get like a Alarak and like both of his teammates leave in like a 3v3 or something like that, and then he's just like stacking with himself, that is so cancer because you get like 50 Wrathwalkers you have to deal with at some point. That's insane to me. Oh, I guess he's a counterpick to Tychus too, but Tychus isn't like that great either. I mean, he's good, but he's not like insanely great. He's not like a common pick. Artanis, A tier. I don't buy. he has good matchups. Like he's good against Phoenix. He's good against Alarak. He's really a OP versus Alarak, to be honest. He's good into Karax. He's good into Han and Horner. He's good into Manx. I would say he's not like amazing into Nova, but he's decent in Nova. He's not like gonna flop over dead type of problems. He's decent into Dahaka. I do think that he does still kill Tempest, especially if Dahaka invests in Creeper House, which I don't know why Dahakas do that versus Artanis, because they could just snipe a Creeper House. But anyways. Not so great into Abathur. That's what's drawing him back, I would say. He's okay in Tavora. He's not that great, but he's okay. He's okay into Statman, but he's not that great. He just doesn't have the tools he needs to deal with Hydras. Tempest don't kill Hydras, unfortunately. He's good into Zag, but Zag's not played that much for good reason. He's pretty good into Tychus. I don't think that Tychus wins this matchup. I actually think it's Artanis' favorite now. He's really good into Swan. And he's okay into the Stukov. Stukov and like Stukov, Phoenix, and Kerrigan are like, he outscales them, but he needs the time to outscale them, and that's the main problem. If he doesn't get that time to outscale him, then it gets too much for him. He can't beat 1.5 waves like that. Whereas with a lot of these commanders, he outscales them on like round 2, for example. I think with Dahaka he needs time to outscale too. But yeah, he's a decent commander. If he had like infinite time, then he probably would be like one of the top picks, like S tier. But unfortunately, his tempo, which has always been like a big problem for him, has been lackluster. So he ends up being in this position. The Haka, S tier. If you know what you're doing with the Haka, and you play the macro game, not even just the micro game, but the macro game well, you can theoretically counter Abathur, for example. Unless you're forced into metas, which then you're just screwed. But you can go like Creeper Host into Swarm Host, for example. He does good into Alarak. He does good into Artanis. He's not like horrible into Artanis, but he's not like amazing. He just does good. He has the tempo on Artanis. Again, the main problem is that when he has, this is what kind of draws him back, because he's theoretically good into almost like every single commander here. Almost every single commander here, he's like theoretically good into. There's two big weaknesses for him though. If he's forced into metas, his metas can get stuck on just random ground to air units like Nova Strike Glass. And they'll just die, because they don't do damage to the ground units that well. That's like one major weakness of his. And then the second major weakness I'd say is that he doesn't really have a global. His global is technically his 3 worms, but it doesn't really like turn how can I say this? It doesn't save him from a lost game. It's not something that like twists the game and turns it into his favor, you know? Like early game it matters a lot more, but like late game worms don't really matter that much. It's not a black hole. It's not a Artanis, shield thingy. It's not a beam. Hell, it's not even a free SBC. Even a free SBC is like fine. Or Zagara's ulti with the attack speed and stuff. Or Kerrigan's like stun wave. It's not a good comeback mechanism. But on the the reason why I say that like he's S tier though is because he definitely has those two like strong weaknesses, but he also has a lot of like strengths to make up for it. So he has very durable buildings that also deal a lot of damage, his worms, which you can micro his beam onto other units. He has a lot of stackability with creep hosts and stuff like that. He has early game tempo. He has like maybe a lot of 60-40 matchups where he's like in the favor. He's the 60% win rate, let's say. If we were just basing off the matchup alone and not like the actual globals. Yeah, he's a very like overall solid pick, and he's decent into like almost every single like top commander. He's decent into Abathur, he's decent into Vora, like he's pretty good. Yeah, Vora's gonna go S tier eventually, but we'll get to her. Phoenix. I think Phoenix is underrated. I think he's A tier. We've been buffing him almost every single patch. He's been getting stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger. His superpower is that he kills the enemy wave like hard enough that he doesn't have to deal with his own wave anymore. So when he has, or he at least doesn't have to deal with his own wave by himself, let's say. So despite getting like outscaled by commanders like Artanis, Dahaka, or even like Abathur, he just makes up for it by just, you know, making sure that they don't have late game viability by just crushing their early game so hard. He pushes into the next wave so hard, he bunker busts, and then he doesn't have to deal with his own wave. It's as simple as that. And I get, of course, his weakness is that he gets outscaled by almost every single commander. And also he has he's very weak to commanders like Stepman. He's just uber weak versus like Stepman. Like, yeah, you can be like, oh, we're gonna go air, make sure we make him go a bunch of Hydras. Except for those Hydras still win. Which is insane. Those Hydras still win. Can't go ground because the Ultras will just stomp him to death. Yeah, he just has to go air. This is the Phoenix life though. Also, he has no comeback mechanism. He has Arbiter, which is like sort of a comeback mechanism, but not really. It's not reliable because like sometimes they're not, like, units aren't really clumped up like that to stasis them all, and Cloak can just be scammed. That's what keeps him from being S tier, I'd say. I think that like he's not perfect like Dahaka, but I think Dahaka's more well-rounded. I think like Phoenix has one game plan, and his game plan is to just win early game so that his teammates don't have to fight their own wave and he doesn't have to fight his own wave. Whereas Dahaka, he has like late game viability, he has a lot of matchups where he's favored in, so it's like, yeah. I think that's like kind of sort of the trade-off. He doesn't have as much, Dahaka doesn't have as much early game as Phoenix does. But most commanders don't, really. The only one that could really contend is maybe Kerrigan. Hanan Horner. Put him B tier. Or A tier, sorry. If you're a Micro Jackson on this commander, he does so well. Like Hanan Horner is just so good at sometimes, but so bad at other times. Like he's unfavored versus Artanis, but he's not like super unfavored. I think that with a lot of the Hanan Horner buffs, he's not like super favored with Artanis. He's still unfavored, but yeah. But it makes it awkward if you're going like Dragoons and stuff into this Hanan Horner, because like Hanan Horner having to deal with ground and air is just like annoying for him. But again, like hard counters Phoenix, for example, does pretty decently to Alarak. He may lose the early game, but he sure as hell wins the late game for sure. And just needs a slight nudge to win the early game, and definitely wins the mid game. He's pretty bad at Dahaka, all things considered. Once Bunker dies, then you're screwed. But you can definitely do some tricks like making your Vikings go on the ground while the mutas go aggro the turrets and stuff like that. So there's some tricks you can do with Hunt Horner in that case. He's bad into Abathur though. Really bad into Abathur. I mean, I guess you can bait the Mutas into like Magmines or something, but still bad into Abathur, I would say. I guess like what keeps him like in the top tier is like his stacking potential with like Abathur and his air supremacy that he provides, his like team synergy like utilization, and then his like Micro Jackson feats that he can do. Like for Stukov wins the early game versus Han Horner, but there's some point in the game where the Stukov has to push into the, you know, near the Nexus or something. Han Horner just jumps back on SBCs, or jumps to the side on SBCs, kills half the Stukov wave, and doesn't have to worry about the other half, because the other half is gonna go towards the Nexus and die. And with like a pretty much a whole Han Horner fleet just intact, they get into the next wave. It's stupid, but it exists. Not to mention, if you use APOC missiles on Han Horner units, they could just blink and then cancel all the damage on the APOC missiles. Like, the APOC missiles won't home into the other units. Yeah. And then he's a hard counter to Karax, for sure. Decent into Kerrigan, for sure. Decent into Manx, for sure. Han Horner vs Nova, Nova's favorite, but not as bad as people think it is. Yeah. Okay. Karax. Man, I want to put him A tier. But I'm sorry, man. You're a B tier guy. He just has too many weaknesses. Like, you see, once you see it like Han Horner, you're just instantly screwed. You see Dahaka, you're instantly screwed. You see Abathur, you're instantly screwed. You see Phoenix, you're instantly screwed. You see Artanis, you're like a 50-50, but you're probably more like a 40-50 to be honest. I think Artanis wins that fight. I think like when Karax establishes his full army, like with carriers and mirages, I think that actually wins at some point, but I don't know. Mass Tempest is just OP. Karax is good into Alarak, but Alarak's a B commander, so like, not really saying much. Karax into Kerrigan is kind of eh. Kerrigan can go ground first. He can go a bunch of Hydras into air later, and then you're kind of screwed. And that's the same reason why he's screwed against Phoenix. Is like Phoenix can go ground first and then air later, and then he's kind of messed up. He's not gonna have a good time. He's good into mechs. Decent into Nova. I wouldn't say is counter Nova, but is decent. Probably like a 45-55 or something. 45-55 with a slightly unfavored. I want to say it's bad into Stepman. And again, like, just Ultralisk plus Hydras and Karax can't really do much. That's the main problem, Ultras and Hydras. Good into Swan. It's okay into Stukov. It definitely outscales Stukov. So if he lasts the game, then shit, outscale. Pretty decent to Tychus, not like amazing. Eh. And Tavora. Vora can outscale, definitely. Really good into Zagara. But no one's playing Zagara. That's the thing, it's just like the matchups are kinda eh with Carrix. But he has beam, so he has a comeback mechanism. Which is why he's not going into tier. He's gonna stay into beer tier. And he has late game. In a lot of cases. Kerrigan. I think this is a sleeper pick. When there's Mexes, when there's Mexes, this commander is like C tier. When there's no Mexes, this commander is S tier. This commander is absurd when there's no. Yeah, I'm gonna do it. S tier. If there's no Mexes in the game, then this commander is just gonna run wild and kill everything. S tier if it's in a tournament, probably A tier if it's like in houses regular. Because you can just always ban Mengs. The other counter picks that you have to worry about are Stepman and Phoenix. Yeah, that's fair enough. We're gonna keep him A tier. Stepman, Phoenix, Haunted Horner late game, but not early game. Yeah, just Kerrigan is really strong tempo commander. You can dash into your allies' wave and kill the enemy with the combined forces of your Kerrigan hero plus your allies' wave. Has pretty excellent comeback mechanism with the stun wave. Very swarmy commander, which makes your late game a little bit less viable because AoE options get opened up like Reavers and stuff like that. Colossi even. But she's just her early game makes up for her late game. Thanks. I don't know. I feel like this commander, like, we'll just put him A tier. I feel like this commander gets carried too much by his allies. If this commander doesn't get carried by his allies, then he ends up like having a bad time. This is just because he can guarantee like his team wins late game by going multiple POAs and leaking into waves and whatnot. But also at the same time, he has to get to that point, so he's relying on his allies a lot. He's just a very team synergy oriented commander. His other units like Aegis Guard ES are pretty good though. Even tanks are good, Black Hammers are good. Like all of his Royal Guards are good. Warhounds are really good. LMGs are lackluster nowadays. Flame Troopers are pretty good. Mutas are lackluster. Yeah, we'll put him in B tier with all these commanders. Man, I'm so tempted to just throw Phoenix and Kerrigan up here. Do I do it? I'm such a simp for the early game. Even though I played a lot of late game comps, the tournament, I'm such a simp for the early game because like, if you win the early game, the chances of getting outscaled are very little. And by winning, I mean like also including bunker busting and whatnot. Man, if Mengs was not a commander, this tier would be up here. It's not even the fact that she's bad against Mengs directly. It's more so the Mengs leak. Like ES, for example. Like if you're building a bunch of metas into Karax or Zagara, and then one ES leaks into you, suddenly all those metas are dead. I mean, it's probably gonna take more than one ES. It's probably gonna take like 2 or 3. But yeah. And no, we'll keep it there. Nova. Man, if we see more Haunted Horners, Nova would be really amazing. If we see more Haunted Horners, if we see more Kerrigans, Nova would be... Well, not Kerrigan. Just the more Haunted Horners and Menxes, Artanuses. If we see more of those commanders, then Nova would be amazing. But we're seeing Abathurs and Dahakas. Where does that leave Nova? Sorry to say this, Nova fans. B tier. She's just not that great anymore. I don't know. Her Marines got nerfed. And she's had several nerfs in the past. She can use tanks now, which I guess is bonus, but... Maybe she's good as like an indirect pick into Abathur. You know what? We're gonna put her into A tier. We're gonna shift Mengs to B tier. I think Mengs has way too many weaknesses, and he doesn't even have a global. Like his global, he has to pay a bunch of money for. That's his ESO. And his like comeback mechanism is POA, which he also has to pay money for. So he's forking over like a lot of money just to get a global, just to get a comeback mechanism. Meanwhile, the enemy is just crushing him. He just has to get carried by his team too much. Rainer. I'm not a believer in the Rainer meta. I'm sorry guys. We're keeping him up here. He's a decent pick into Stepman. But man, he's so bad into Nova. He's kinda bad into Kerrigan. Kerrigan has tempo. Kinda bad into Phoenix. Phoenix has tempo. Really bad into Haunted Horner. Pretty decent into Artanis, all things considered, but he can be outscaled for sure. Once Artanis gets his units online, he's done for. But Rainer does have the early game versus Artanis. Pretty decent into Mengs, like he's like 50-50, I'd say. I don't know. Karax versus Mengs Karax versus Rainer is weird. I would say it's a 50-50. I think Rainer wins early game, but Karax wins the mid game and parts of the late game. I think like late game, Raynor actually wins, but he's really good into Alarak. We're not seeing that many Swans, so, but he's really good into Swan. The new Stukov builds and stuff like that can be kind of annoying for Raynor. I don't know. I feel like this matchup is kind of slept on. There's definitely a lot more that can go on with this matchup than meets the eyes. Like, if Stukov rushes APOC, then Raynor kind of has to rush Battlecruiser, because otherwise the APOCs will actually kill the Raynor Bio, which is stupid because in the past I could have sworn that the Raynor Bio actually wins. But here we are. So if the Raynor Bio dies, then nothing protects the Raynor from like, well, other APOCs. So you need to rush BCs, and then you have to micro jump the BCs out of the Stukov rockets, and the Stukov has to micro rockets onto the BCs, and you can even get Diamondbacks at some point for Stukov. I don't know, it's just... And then the Raynor responds to that with Banshees. And the Stukov responds to that with more APOCs. You see how like convoluted this matchup is? It's like, you know, it's so like, it needs to be like looked into more, I would say. Otherwise it's just not gonna be like it's not fleshed out enough. Sure. I don't see that many Stukov players, and I don't see that many Raynor players, so having a Raynor versus Stukov in general is kind of rare. Raynor's decent to Tekis. I wouldn't say he's like great though. Pretty decent to Vora. I'd say he's pretty... I think that's what carries him to B tier, is that he's pretty good in Tavora. And Stet. And Dahaka even. Yeah. I'd say that's what probably carries him to B tier. Also it'd be C tier in my eyes. Speaking of C tier, Cigar, I'm sorry. At least you're not D tier or F tier or anything like that. You used to be like way worse than what you were. Maybe the meta hasn't like evolved enough to do Cigar comps, but man, Zagara is just so hard to like play with in terms of like having a teammate Zagara, because like they always get countered by every single commander, and it's just crazy. I don't understand it. Zagara's superpower is that if you're winning, it's just a big if you're winning, she scales a lot off of like the extra minerals that she gets. So if you're winning, she scales way hard on like any extra minerals she gets from like mid, for example, or extra gases, for example. Harder than I would say almost every single commander on this list. Maybe not Manx, but maybe not Dahaka, but definitely the others. She scales hard off of mineral value, like just having a better like amount of stats than the enemy. She's just a stat check commander with like a bunch of early game like viability. So if her wave, like if she has her ally kill her wave or whatever, she can suddenly just like bomb the bunker and possibly even bust it. But again, she's just, again, maybe the meta hasn't evolved for her to be in comps, but we'll see. Stetman. Go put him in B tier. Psych. You go in S tier. He does not have a global. He does have a comeback mechanism. If you save charges on the ultras, you can save like the fragment charges on Gary or whatever for ultras, and then unleash 3 ultras on one wave, and then suddenly you just win that wave and then come back from a losing position. This is definitely a viable strategy for Statman. But otherwise, this guy, I don't get it. He's just pretty decent to everyone. Like, he doesn't have a solid hard counter. Like, Stukov doesn't hard counter him. He thought that Stukov hard countered him in the past, but no, he doesn't. Abathur doesn't hard counter him. Artanis doesn't hard counter him. Even like Han and Horner doesn't hard counter him. I'd say it's like maybe even a soft counter, but not a hard counter. We thought that Manx in the past, like, you know, hard countered him. Nope. He doesn't get hard countered by Manx either. And he's only been receiving nerfs. He has not been getting buffs, guys. He's only been receiving nerfs. Like, this guy, I don't understand. He's always in the meta. The one thing I will say is that he's kind of prone to black hole. Like for a black hole. Swan. You know what? I think Swan has earned some of his stripes. I don't think he's a good commander. I think he's a decent commander, but not a good commander. I had wished that he would be higher after all the buffs that we've given him, but unfortunately I cannot say that with like 100% honesty. He's too fragile to AoE, like microable AoE. His beam is like the center point of like a lot of his winning like potential. So if you get swarmy commanders like Kerrigan, his beam doesn't do as much. Like, yeah, tier 3 beam is a lot better now versus swarming commanders, but it still doesn't do as much as it should be. He also doesn't do that as much versus like Karax, who heals and has like invulnerability triggers. He has no comeback mechanism. There's no like sort of global or anything that he has other than beam. And a lot of his tower, he has 3 towers. Like a lot of his turrets are, he has 3 of them, but they're pretty trash. Like maybe he gets his flaming Betty turret in the future. I hope Tia would add that into there, but probably not. Maybe you could replace like a if Tia's worried about space, maybe he could replace one of the missile turrets for a flaming Betty turret or something. That would be nice. But Swan just gets blown the fuck out by tempo commanders way too often. You're gonna lose to Kerrigan, you're gonna lose to Phoenix, you're gonna lose to Nova, and you're gonna definitely lose to Raynor. You're gonna definitely lose to Zakara. You're gonna lose to Abathur. There's no winning matchups here. Like, the most you could say is that maybe is decent against Han and Horner. decent into Daka. You could say get blown out by Karax, you get blown out by Artanis. Like, Swan needs more buffs, guys. I don't know why you guys are pretending that he is some sort of like, you know, god now. After all those buffs, he still, but he definitely still needs work. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna say about it. He needs work. Stukov. We'll put him A tier. Stukov has the. Oh man. What am I gonna about Stukov, man? This is just. Bro, some games Stukov is just like S tier. Other games Stukov is like A tier. Maybe it's the pilot that is the problem. Maybe I'm seeing a lot of bad Stukov pilots. That's like making him go lower than what he is supposed to be. I do think that he's supposed to be S tier. But man, Han and Horner and Phoenix, kinda annoying. For Stukov players and Kerrigan. No, this is where he needs to be. Even Nova's annoying for Stukov. Yeah, this is gonna be where he's gonna be. I'd say he has decent matchups into the S champ, like the S ranked commanders, but a lot of the A rank commanders he's kinda versus he's good into Artanis, I'll say. Yeah, he's bad into Megs too. Pretty good into yeah, but we'll keep him here. I think that his defensive ability, infest structure, could definitely go a long way and ruin enemy's day. But yeah. And then the contamination that makes all of the buildings get disabled, enemy buildings. I don't know. There's not really much to say about him. He's just decent overall. His APOC strategy is the main strategy he has, where he likes to go APOC and then Banshees. So he'll go APOC, burrow charge any of the ground to air units, and then use Banshees behind the APOC to kill anything else. I feel like a lot of the Stukov players are misplaying, and that's what's like kind of dragging my opinion down of him, but we'll keep him here for right now. Tychus. Honestly, Swan. There's no way he's like. It's either up here or like right here. Put him right here. We've been seeing a lot of Tychus comps. I feel like a lot of the teams, including my own, is misplaying against the Tychus comps that we've been seeing. Or maybe we've been getting unlucky with matchups. I don't think it's been like Tychus that's the true carry of the comp or anything. Like as a commander. Like maybe they supported Tychus by giving him like drone shield with Nova or whatever. But and like damage reduction with Raynor, but even still. Yeah, we'll put him on top of B. I think that's about right. I don't think the game gets won by Tychus, the commander. I think the game gets won by like drone, oftentimes, with those comps or damage reduction. You could say like, oh yeah, but you know, Tychus the commander benefits the most off of damage reduction and benefits the most off of drone because of Nakara and whatnot. And then I would say, yeah, okay, true. True, he doesn't have swarmy units, so drone is also pretty decent, you know. But also as a like counter injecture, I feel like it's just like too much of a one-dimensional like comp, right? Your strategy is to just boost and make Tychus the carry commander that he always wanted to be. But I feel like with that you're lacking in other departments. You're lacking in like anti-air, for example. You're lacking in you know, tempo sometimes. So even like sometimes it's comeback mechanisms that you're lacking in. Because your only comeback mechanisms is like Nova Drone. Like, are you gonna be for real with that? That's like your only major comeback mechanism? When you want like an Alarak defensive ability, or let's say Stukov infrastructure, you know, Vora Black Hole, Karak's Beam, you know. I don't know. Maybe the comps we've been seeing has not been like the more optimized end of them, but see, I think that Tychus is just not. He's just overrated. Not that great and high level. A lot of these commanders can go with Tychus. Like a ton of these commanders can. Statman, Dahaka, Abathur certainly can. Artanis definitely can. Phoenix can. Kerrigan, no. Nova definitely can. Stukov definitely can. Yeah. Vora definitely can. Vora is gonna be S tier. I'm sorry guys, like Black Hole is insane, Shadow Guards are insane. Like this is not like a this is not even like a this is not a complicated like question at all. Probably top S. Probably rearrange it like this is probably what S tier looks like. We'll say A tier looks like this. Kerrigan, Fire. Put Kerrigan like that. Put it like that. This is my like pick list, I would say. Of course, like this could be, you know, if I if I experience a bad day against Phoenix, you know, I could definitely boost this up at some point. I think that this is pretty decently accurate. Um, this is where the meta stands right now. Yeah, pretty decently accurate. Anyways, thank you for watching, and make sure you... I would definitely talk about this in the comment section. I don't, like, I definitely know that some people are gonna not trust this, but I definitely think that this is probably where it's at right now. We're currently missing all the tournament games, combined with my own opinions and my experiences on in-houses and sniping and whatnot. This has been like kinda where I've been at with all this. On a bad day, this could probably be B tier. On a good day, this could probably be A tier. Yeah. GG's guys.